Welcome to Healing Through Photography, a weekly podcast talking about my mental health journey, how I found photography, and how photography has helped me in this healing process. And as always, I am not a licensed therapist or psychologist. Any views or opinions or information shared in this podcast is solely of my own. So, with that, let's get started. So, I just want to say before we get too deep here, thank you. If you've been listening from the beginning or if you're a new listener, um, thank you for listening. I hope you find these podcasts encouraging. I hope if you're struggling with any type of mental health issues, mental illness, that you find some sort of encouragement through these, that you find some sort of support, and I hope you know that you're not alone. You're not the only person that struggles with mental health. It's an ongoing battle. It's an ongoing um, illness that you have to every day address and learn to heal and learn to live with. So I hope anybody out there that's listening to these, I really hope you are finding some sort of encouragement. I'm not a professional at doing these podcasts. I'm kind of learning as I go, um, trying to do this in the best way possible to be as honest and raw with my story and my journey as possible, just in hopes to encourage you and to show you that you are just not alone and that there is help out there and that there is light at the end of that dark tunnel. You may not see it right now, but I promise you it's there. So let's just kind of go into what the title of this podcast is, which is June 15th. Um, June 15th, 2015 was the day that I was going to commit suicide. Um, I had been struggling. I was in a bad place, a very dark, bad place mentally. I, you know, at this time, I was 35 years old and I had been struggling so hard and so long with being on this merry-go-round cycle of emotions, of mood swings, of this internal battle with myself, of self-loathing, self-hate. Um, I've said before in podcasts, my moods would switch like a light switch, and I would get depressed and I would stay in bed, and then I would lose jobs, I would lose places to live, and I was just on this vicious cycle for so long and so many years and trying to know how to stop it. I just wanted it to stop. I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to feel some sort of stability in my life. I was moving from place to place, sometimes state to state, one job after another, just financially not in a good place, and just not knowing why I couldn't be happy, why I couldn't be happy with my life or myself, or why I didn't couldn't feel normal. All these years I had struggled with all this trauma from being, molested to being outed by family members to being disowned by family members to trusting in the wrong people and just making mistakes here and there. And I just was, I was just at the lowest and darkest place in my life. And what I want to say is that if you've never struggled with mental health issues, be very thankful and you are blessed that you have control over your mental health and that you've never been to those low places and you never struggled with, you know, depression or anxiety or anything like that. But here's the thing. I have heard over the years, whether it's been a celebrity that has committed suicide or, a family member or somebody or whatever, I have seen and heard over the years where people say, well, they were selfish for committing suicide. How could they do that to their family? Let me try to explain something to you from somebody who has been in that dark place and who has wanted to end things. I don't consider it selfish. It's not something that that person is maliciously or purposely trying to hurt anybody when they do that. For me, I'm going to speak for myself, but I have a feeling that I can speak for a lot of people that have committed suicide. You get to a place in your mind where you are so mentally tired of struggling. You're so emotionally tired of struggling, physically tired of struggling, because mental health can take a physical toll on you. You just want to feel normal. You just want the pain to stop. You want off the ride. And sometimes the only way you feel like you can do that is by ending your life. And I know that because I almost took my life. I almost ended mine because I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to feel stable because at the time I didn't have those things. I didn't feel like I was seen. I didn't feel like I was heard. I didn't feel like I was loved. I didn't love myself. And all those things can just happen. All those emotions, all those feelings, all that hurt, all that everything can happen at once. And you're in this whirlwind of emotional state that you just, it's like you are standing in a crowded room screaming to the top of your lungs and nobody hears you or sees you. That's the best way I guess I can explain it. And just wanted, I wanted to stop. I wanted to not be looked at by family members and friends as a loser because that's how I perceived people looking at me. I feel like I perceived people looking at me, they're seeing me, you know, jumping from job to job, jumping from place to place, not having any stability or financial stability or any of that. And my mind was telling me, your family and your friends think you're a loser. Your family and friends are looking down on you. That's how powerful mental illness can be. Your mind plays these tricks on you that even though they may not be even true or any truth to it, you still get that in your mind. And it's just a whirlwind of emotions. And on June 15th, that day, I wanted to stop. I didn't feel like I had any fight left in me. I didn't feel like I had anything left to give. I didn't know why I was struggling like this. I didn't know what was triggering these emotions, what was happening to me. Nothing seemed to be working. No therapist seemed to help me. Nothing was just working. And I struggled for that with that. I struggled to have some sort of normal life. And I knew the life I wanted to have and wanted and the life that I desired to have, I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to achieve that or if I would achieve that. And then you start going down this rabbit hole of you'll never get there, you'll never be good enough, you'll never have the life you want, you'll never be respected, you'll never have love, you'll never have all these things that your heart desires. And then you go down this rabbit hole of dark emotions, dark feelings, those start to take over and those build on top of all those insecurities, builds on top of all that self-doubt and self-hate, all of that. I mean, can you imagine trying to deal with what felt like a thousand different thoughts and emotions and all of that? So when people commit suicide, don't judge them, don't hate on them, don't think that they are selfish or that they are doing it maliciously to hurt their family and friends because I guarantee you they just want the pain to stop. They want the merry-go-round of emotions to stop. They want all these different thoughts and feelings and doubt and self um, just all that to stop because that's the place I was at. That's the place I'm like, I just want the pain to stop. I want to not have what felt like a thousand different thoughts all in my mind at once and not knowing how to control them, not knowing how to stop them, not knowing how to live with what was going on with me. And I reflect on that day often because I think what would have happened if I had given into that? What would have happened if I've gone through with committing suicide on June 15th? And then I'm so glad that I didn't do it because I'm here to tell my story. I'm here to tell you that you can do it. It takes fight, it takes willpower, it takes strength that honestly you don't realize you have until you have it. These last 2 years, since 2020, I have gone through, well, let me just tell you, in October 2nd of 2020, the day before my birthday, I was rushed to the hospital. I was living in DC. I was rushed to the hospital. I was coughing up blood and black stuff and not sure what was going on. And I remember going into the ER and then I remember passing out. And I woke up the next day on my birthday in ICU at George W. University Hospital there in DC, not knowing what happened. And, you know, after a day of like coming to and trying to figure out what was happening to me, it was told to me by the doctors that I had a bacterial infection called MRSA, MRSA, and that it was so bad that I was 24 hours away from dying, and that below my chest cavity to my belly button, all the way to on my right side to my back, my skin was gone. They had to remove my skin because this bacterial infection was so bad, it was eating away at my skin, and then it was in going down into um, my genitals, and I had to have surgery down on my genitals and stuff like that to remove the infection. And I went through 33 days of hell, basically. I was in hospital for 33 days. I had 9 surgeries. I had um, 2 major skin grafts done. I, I went through hell and I did it on my own. I was living in DC. I had no family in DC. I had no, close friends in DC. I had to do this on my own, and I decided to, after I got out of the hospital and I made the choice to move back home to Kentucky because I wanted to be close to my family and finish my recovery there. And even when I moved back, I still felt like I went through this alone. And but I gained strength from that. And then, I got through that and, you know, a year and a half later, I'm, working a great job. I'm in my very own apartment now. Life is going great. And then on May 15th, 2022, the house next to my apartment catches fire, which in return catches my apartment building on fire. And I remember being home. I heard a window pop and seeing flames coming through my living room windows. And I ran out with nothing but the clothes on my back, not even shoes or anything on. And I lost everything in a fire. I mean, lost everything. I, you know, the only thing well, I'll take that back a little bit. The only 2 things I was able to recover, thankfully, was my camera, my photography camera, and a couple of glass vases that belonged to my grandparents. Everything else was gone. And I had never experienced something like that before. And it wasn't that the material things were gone. It was all I don't put value in material things. It was I had worked so hard to come back from this medical trauma to be back on my feet just to have it all taken away from me again. So it's like I worked hard to get in a good place mentally. I go through something traumatic health wise, I go through that and I'm back on my feet, and then here I am again with everything taken away from me again. And on top of that, 2 weeks after the fire, I end up back in the hospital with a brain infection, and my right side has paralysis. And I spent another 30 days in the hospital, and then another week in a physical therapy, rehabilitation place. And thankfully, I'm good, and I've got a lot of my mobility back now, and I'm rebuilding my life, and I'm getting there again. But honestly, if this hadn't happened, if I had not been in a point in my mental healing journey, I don't, this all would have taken me out the last couple of years, is my point. And I believe that if I had not started working on myself and start this journey and start getting stronger mentally and knowing my triggers and all of this, the events of the last 3 years, I believe would have taken. I believe June 15th, that day would have came true after all this has happened to me if I had not been in a better place with my mental health. And don't get me wrong, please don't get me wrong. I still struggle. I still, you know, the past couple weeks have been hard for me mentally. And not only because of everything I've been through these past 3 years, I'm trying to learn to love myself again because of the way I look. I mean, I have this huge scar on that goes from my stomach to my back, and it's not. I mean, it's a pretty big scar, and from where they did the skin grafts and everything, and I have to fight my depression and my mental health demons that, you know what, because I will get in my head and be like, you know what, no one's going to love you the way you look. No one's going to love you. No one's going to want you. No one's going to find you sexually attractive. No one, or attractive, period. And I deal with that, battle a lot in my mind because I sometimes give in to those thoughts and sometimes be like, you know what, maybe no one will love me for the way I look. And then that kind of, I'll see myself kind of going down that dark rabbit hole, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. No, and I have to mentally fight that battle. Some days are good, some days are bad. Some days I will. I remember not too long after the fire happened, I even the smell of like a fire pit, like if a neighbor had a fire pit going on a weekend night and I would smell the smoke from it, that would give me trauma. That would give me like I would freak out a little bit because I would have these image pop in mind of flames coming into my apartment and losing everything. So it's just mental health and your journey. It is a day-to-day process. It is a day-to-day healing. It is a day-to-day fight. Some days are good fights, some days are bad fights. It's learning your triggers. It's learning not to give in when you have those bad thoughts. It's knowing that you deserve the life you want. You will get the life you want. You will have the life you want, that you are loved because you can love yourself. And honestly, that can be enough love. Whatever your heart desires, whatever you can get there, I promise you. Is it a journey? Yeah. Is it a journey that you may have to walk until the day you die? Yeah, I've accepted that. I am learning to live with mental illness. I am learning to live a life as a 43-year-old single gay man with mental health problems, and I'm learning to live with that. I'm learning that those problems don't define who I am. They almost did on June 15th. They almost did, but they won't ever again, or at least I hope they won't. And it's my goal to every day to put my best foot forward and have a good day. like I said, that doesn't always happen. You can have your little trigger points and something, the way someone says something to you, or even if they don't mean it the way they say it, it can still trigger you into, like, for me, for instance, someone can say something and I'll take it in a condescending way or feel like it's a malicious way or a mean way. And then I will go into this thought process of why they say that, why they think of me that way. What did I do? I mean, you can go down this rabbit hole so freaking easy. And if you struggle with mental illness and you struggle with depression and anxiety, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And I just hope that my story can encourage you or others not to give up, because the fight is worth it. The journey is worth it, because I believe that when you advance in different moments of your journey, you advance in your healing process, and those moments don't come around as much as they once did. So when you are faced with traumatic moments, whether it's a health issue or, you know, losing your apartment to a fire or anything like that, you find strength that you've never known you had. And you find it deep in yourself when before, when you weren't so good in your journey and in your healing, that traumatic thing could have been the thing to take you out. But when you do the work and you fight and you get up every day and you make, positive changes, and you just fight it out daily, whether it's a good fight or bad fight. But when you fight it out and you grow stronger in that, and you feel stronger and you feel mentally stronger, those traumatic things now you can get through, and then you find the strength out of those things. And if you're like me, I compartmentalize when something traumatic happens to me. When, you know, back in 2020, when this bacterial infection first happened, my mind first went to, okay, let's start healing. What do we need to do to fix this? And then I'll deal with the emotions and deal with my feelings about it later. So I compartmentalize all that, and then I process later. The same thing when the fire happened. I went into survivor mode, and then I process later. When I got the brain infection, I went into survivor mode and compartmentalized and processed later. And that's just how I am. That's just how I work. When something traumatic happens, I go into this survivor mode, I compartmentalize, and then I process later. And I have found that when I do that, that I tend to process in a way that I um, can heal from it, that I can work through it better. I can work through whatever emotions or whatever I need to. And let me just say this: how you choose to heal is no one else. Sorry. Basically, no one can tell you how to heal. How you choose to heal yourself, that's how you heal yourself. You find things that work for you. You find things that you relate to, and that you can take little bits and pieces from here and there, even traumatic things. You can take bits and pieces here and there. But how you choose to heal yourself, then that's how you heal yourself. Again, there's no rule book, there's no playbook, there's no one way to heal yourself and be on a healing journey. And sometimes those methods change. Um, what worked for you last year may not work for you this year. So I think, you keep evolving, you keep looking for things to, um, excuse me, help you heal, and thank God I had and have photography. That's the one constant love, that's the one constant passion, that's the one constant thing in my life that I have that is dependable, that is that's my happy place. That's where I go to when I want to escape the world. I go into my photography, whether that's going back and re-editing some old photography images or going out and taking new photography. That's my way of grounding myself. That's my way of centering myself. That's my way of healing myself. And so I would suggest that you would find something that brings you that type of peace, that type of joy, that type of love that is your own. And when I do photography, I like to go out on my own. I really don't like to go out in groups. I don't like to go out in pairs. I have but I'd rather do it on my own because it's my me time. It's my time to focus. It's my time to just process and heal, and that's my time. And when I'm out taking pictures, I don't just go out and start snapping like everything. It's a feeling I get. It's something I see visually in my mind and in my heart, and it's something that I um, will. Sometimes I'll walk around something about 20 times and then walk away from it, come back to it, and completely see something in my mind or visualize a picture or how I see it. And so that's just my excuse me, that's just my escape. That's my time. And that's something that is very precious to me. That is something I will never give up. That is something that I will never, um, you know, not ever do because I will, photography has saved my life. Photography has given me a reason. And now I'm in a place 4 years in my photography as well as my healing journey to where I'm like, okay, now I want to start going outside my box. Now I want to go outside my comfort zone. Someone who doesn't like to do that, and now I want to. Now I want to go and see what I can create over here or create out of this. And now and like doing this podcast, that's completely out of my comfort zone. I'm not, I don't know how to do these podcasts. I'm learning as I go. And as I'm learning, I'm finding enjoyment out of it because I'm hopefully am helping somebody out there that is struggling. And and I hope that through my story, you see that you can do it. You can make it. You can, you know, see or know that at some point you're going to see that light at the end of that dark tunnel and know that it's there's no one cure, there's no one thing that cures mental health. It's something I believe that you learn to live with and you learn to manage. And I'm not on any antidepressants. I'm not against them, and it's just something I didn't feel like I ever needed. I didn't feel like my mental issues weren't as deep to where they needed medication. And so I never went on them. Now I know people and I have friends that have been on them and are on them and they help them. And that's where I go back and say, what works for them doesn't work for me. What works for me may not work for them. You have to find your own balance. You have to find your own ways of healing. And again, nobody can tell you, and I believe people, want to help and try to help, and they have good intentions, but it's like there's no one way of healing yourself. And so photography is my way of healing. It's my go-to place. Like I said, it's my center place. And when I'm struggling, I know I can go to that place and rework my brain, rework my thoughts, rework my feelings, rework my emotions, and it gets me centered. And so that's why I employ you and encourage you to find something that centers you, whether it's meditation, whether it's therapy, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's whatever your passion is, whatever something that you just love. And go to that when you feel like you need to be centered. And go to that when you are struggling. Go to that when you feel like life is just crazy and you need just that moment. And protect that. Protect your peace. Protect your love. Protect your mental health. And if there are people around you, whether it's family, coworkers, friends, whatever, that aren't that aren't protecting your peace as well, it's okay to be like, you know what, right now, I can't be around you because it's not good for me. And get back into a good place and then see if you can be around them. And it may be a thing where you have to set boundaries with certain people. Be like, you know what, I can't have you being that negative around me. I can't have you doing this or that. And if they're your true friends and they're true family and they love you and want to support you, then they will work with you and be okay with that. And you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your mental health. You have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries with people, and it's okay. And not everybody's going to understand that. Not everybody's going to understand why you are setting boundaries. But if it's for your healing journey, if it's for to get you in a better place, then you have to do it. So I really hope you enjoyed today's talk. This one has been in the works for a couple weeks. It's been hard for me to do it because I wanted to do it in a way that respected that day and that in a way honored that day because that was the day that I realized I didn't want to happen again. That's the day that I look back on and I can see how far I've come. And it's a day that kind of set in motions my healing journey in a way, even though, it took about 3 more years before I actually really started on a healing journey, but it really put things in motion. So I just want you to know that you are loved, you are seen, you are heard. Find that passion in you, find that love for something, find that thing that just centers you and hold on to it and protect yourself and your mental health. I love you. Thank you so much for listening today. I just appreciate if you're following me and if you're listening to this. My goal and my wish is that these podcasts just help encourage people. And again, if you are struggling with any kind of suicidal thoughts, 988 or reach out to somebody. Talk. Talking is so important. And I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. I will see you next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a whole new topic. And yeah, you are loved. I see you. I hear you. And have a blessed, beautiful day. And if you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, where you can hear the podcast on Spotify, as well as YouTube, where I am learning to do videos to showcase my work, as well as seeing any new products I'll be coming out with. I am creating a website that will hopefully be launching in about a month, as well as some merch and all that. And so, yeah, go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. All links are in the bios.